Hello everyone, and thanks so much for tuning in. My name's Karen Bukes and I'm the host for the evening tonight. We're out of Studio B tonight, if you can tell a little bit of difference here. They're updating and servicing Studio A, the wonderful staff here at PAC TV, very talented. So here we are, we're sitting in Studio B and it's very, very comfortable, and I thank them for allowing us to do so. Now I'd like to remind you that the Symes House is having their annual meeting Thursday, September 18th at 7 p.m. at the John Alden Sportsman Club. And I will tell you, take it from me, this is a very important meeting. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be doing a monologue, giving you a little background on the Symes and what's been going on there. I'll be doing that in a couple of weeks. Now, if you can tell, I have a really deep tan. We've been going to Long Beach a lot, and the clams there are phenomenal. We have a permit, and we've been digging them up, and they're bigger than my hand, and brought them home and made clam chowder. We even delivered about 40 of them to Dick Silva. He loved them. He's going to make stuffed clams, and it's just wonderful. It's a wonderful resource. Okay, let's welcome our underwriters. Stoll's Cafe in Manomet, Evolution Salon, Brewster, PC Solutions with Wrestling Brewster. He just filmed a brand new show today. Attorney Trifletti and Costa on Long Pond Road, and underwriters David and Kevin Gallerani, owners of Cape Auto, Body and Service, locations at Samoset Street and Sandwich Street right here in Plymouth. And I love those guys tremendously. You're going to be amazed at the lineup of duties our next guest is charged with. She works in Town Hall, and quite frankly, I don't think she gets paid enough. Her credentials are many, and I admire her greatly. I call her Liz. Please welcome Elizabeth Sullivan.
Hi, Karen.
Hello, Liz. I am so happy you're here. You sent me, I asked you to send me over your duties, what you do. Elizabeth, I cannot believe what you do. It took 2 pages and broken down, and I am in awe of what you do. But let's start by giving our viewers a little background on where you live, not where, but Sure, and your educational background.
Sure. I'm a resident of Plymouth. I grew up in Plymouth. I've been here my whole life. Love Plymouth. And I received my undergrad degree from Mass Maritime in environmental policy. So I worked for the town first as a conservation planner for 8.5 years, and 2 years ago decided to pursue my graduate degree in Master's in Public Administration. And when the opportunity arose to apply for Special Assistant and stay in Plymouth, I jumped at the opportunity to apply for that opportunity. And fortunately enough, I was hired by Melissa, and I've been working for her for the last 2 years.
You know, she's not easy. You know, when she hires people, she has a very high standard. And so when you got that job, I knew right away, and you came very highly recommended by Lee Hartman. Lee misses you to this day. You were wonderful, and we're going to talk about that department. Yeah. But so I know that you were perfect. You are perfect for that job. By the way, I see you jogging around town. You like to do that.
You do.
You're very good at it.
I do like to run as often as I can fit it in, which doesn't feel very often lately, but
Yeah.
you may have spotted me downtown.
I have, and it's really good because I know you're into health and all of that too, and that's a very good thing. Now, you provide management and administrative support to the town manager. Let's take a few of your duties, what you focus on. The town manager, you assist with project management?
Yes.
Tell me.
So, things come up in the town manager's office on a daily basis. We work on an array of different things.
Yes.
And, pretty much, whatever Melissa needs, I hop to it.
Provide it.
One example would be when we were going through the process of educating and eventually the town meeting process of getting on board the new solid waste options for the curbside pickup and the pay-as-you-throw. And if you remember, there was a huge educational campaign component with that.
Absolutely.
Leading up to the eventual adoption at town meeting.
Took over a year.
So polling the different companies and what their rates were and different things like that, and putting it all on poster boards for town meeting members, just getting all of that information out to them so they could make the best educated decision.
Right.
But different things right now. I'm researching what other communities are doing that are entertaining medical marijuana in their communities. So, so you can see it's a range of different, whatever the moment is, researching and drafting potential intergovernmental agreements.
If you know where to get the information, that's more than half the battle.
That's right.
If you resource. So that's very good. So you work very closely with JB and his department, and whatever it takes.
It could be,
police department, fire department.
Any department head, coordinate, facilitate with them on a daily basis.
Right. Which is wonderful. So you have experience in all those departments. You're a wealth of information, Liz.
We try.
You try. You do a great job. So you gave me. So you also do draft, license, lease, and other intergovernmental agreements, which that goes before the selectmen.
Yeah, one of the larger projects I've been working on that's taken up a lot of significant amount of time in the last 6-7 months has been a lease and license audit for the town manager's office. Oversees over 50 licenses and leases. They're all different. They all have different renewal terms, different escalators, different term lengths. Gulfscape or Crosswinds is a lease. That doesn't expire until 2040, whereas we have an array of different license agreements on our town wharf that are renewable every 3 years. So the selectmen really instructed the town manager's office, town manager, to do an audit on all of these agreements that we have and that we're managing.
I'm happy to hear, so happy, because I sit on the Revenue Idea Task Force, and that's one of our charges too. But tell me, if someone has a lease and they want to sell their business, does that lease still stay in agreement?
That is an interesting question, and it depends on the language of the individual lease.
Of course.
For many that I can think of, you can sell a business. You can always sell your LLC. But no, that does not mean that the license would necessarily transfer.
Yeah.
It all is dependent on the language. If you're allowed to transfer, or the terminology is reassign.
Reassign, that's the word.
There are instances where you can, but there are many that you cannot. So without prior approval from the Board of Selectmen. So that it's interesting, and that has come up recently in a couple instances where businesses have listed their property for sale, and
Which is fine.
I actually get phone calls from realtors or potential buyers interested, and I explain it as exactly how I explained to you, that, can't deter you from making an offer on that property. That's not my job, but
Right.
I can read you what the terms of the lease says, and
Sure.
you need the selectman's authorization
Absolutely.
to reassign. So it's not cut and dry, it's a multi-step process.
Exactly.
And something like that. But the leases do generate significant revenue for the town, upwards of $800,000 on an annual basis, on a range of activities from cell towers to our concession stand at Nelson Park is an RFP that we're collecting about $6,000 annually, which is up since the park has been renovated.
Oh.
2 years ago we were probably collecting 200 or 300.
Yeah.
Cell towers. Now we're also doing aquaculture licenses.
Yes.
And that's paid at $25 per acre.
And I asked why the amount was so low, and the answer was, we do not want to discourage that type of business.
We don't want to discourage, and also it's a new emerging industry for Plymouth.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always been there recreationally.
Right.
But there's never been a business until the last recent years, and there are people in other towns that are doing very well with this type of
Duxbury,
thing. So
yeah.
exactly. So I think Plymouth is, the town is intelligent to kind of get a smaller fee and see how it goes. And we're issuing license agreements for a shorter period of time, 3 years, and that goes by really quick. So we can always
Thank
reassess
goodness.
the agreements
Yeah.
as they expire.
I think that's wise. 3 years is reasonable.
It is. It gives them a chance to get out and try their business.
Right.
And we want to see the business thrive and not affect, their ability to do it. Most of the guys that are out there are doing it as it's a second thing or whatever they're doing full time. And so, it's going to be interesting to see. And also some of these people, the Plymouth local license, achieving that was the easy part for them. They had to get Army Corps of Engineers, Division of Marine Fisheries, local Conservation Commission. So it probably, in all actuality, was a whole year of permitting.
The permitting process can be cumbersome.
It is.
But it's deliberate.
That's
to
right.
make sure it.
All the T's
Yeah.
are crossed and the I's are
Yeah,
I.
yeah. I know David Gould's taught me a lot.
David, yeah. Work with David Gould
Yeah.
and Chad on the license agreement for aquaculture,
Yeah.
making sure if they want to add anything. So we work well. And we have a long list of people on the aquaculture waiting list. As we issue licenses, we move people up and off the list. So it's been a steady stream of people doing that. But it's been really great overall to do the audit on the licenses and leases.
I'm so glad
I'm
she
glad
did
that
that.
was a priority project
Yeah.
for Melissa, because I've learned so much. And, the system, the database that I created now can also be a resource for the office. So if I'm not there, if a question gets asked, a colleague of mine can look at the, database and, when does Lobster Tails lease end, or Crosswinds, and how much are they paying at East Bay? It's user friendly, so it's a great tool. I just presented that to the selectmen in July. From that presentation, there was a list of 10 or 12 items with immediate follow-up, ranging from eviction, termination, renewing leases, and looking for arrear money. So I'm working off this punch list on a daily basis and plan to update the selectmen again in early September.
I believe there were 2 stories in the OCM of defaults on.
There was a couple defaults.
Yeah.
And, it wasn't to single anybody out, and I told the people that it was a lease audit on all.
Everybody,
So,
yeah.
it's all public.
Yeah.
But we need to know what is in default, and It's money that goes into the general fund,
Yeah.
and there's a huge interest in leased property, especially in the wharf area. We have
Yeah.
people looking, and that's why the T-Wharf reconstruction, securing the funding for that recently that Plymouth did.
Yeah.
Was
Was it huge?
It's huge. It's going
Yeah.
to be a great asset, and going forward, that area is subject to a special act, which allows us to work with some of the tenants that are there, but we are always also afforded the opportunity to go out to bid and see what types of recreational and commercial businesses want to come in. The funding to construct the wharf is from both sources, recreational and commercial, so we always have to balance
Right.
both needs.
And it's done very well. I mean, that's not easy. That's a busy wharf,
It is.
and it's done well. Now, the state took over the Plymouth Rock, the
DCR.
portico and
Right.
yes, so we don't maintain that.
We don't maintain that. That is not one of our licenses or leases, but we do work closely with them.
Yeah, it's in our town.
On different projects
Sure.
on a daily basis.
Yeah.
So, but the wharf area and the whole waterfront, I mean, as far as our licenses and leases go, it's a huge real estate, for us, and economic development, and what businesses we have in there, and we have a lot of great long-term businesses that have been there, and if you look at that area, there's not much property that isn't owned by the town. There's only one private building.
Yeah.
So
Have you ever had the opportunity to go to Situate and know what the waterfront looked like before? It was beautiful.
Right.
And what it looks like now, all the buildings that obstruct
right.
the view.
Right.
What a shame.
Right. Well, that's, I think, there's a lot of different reasons, make Plymouth great, but the historic and the charm of our waterfront, and even the small ticket booths that are down there have, they belong there, and it's certain feel to the character of our waterfront.
Absolutely. It's the whole ambiance. Now, you're in charge of all media releases, so you have contacts in all the papers, and you send out the press releases.
I do. What happens with the press releases, DPW comes to mind, but we have a lot of different projects that happen in Plymouth.
Cherry Street,
the sewer expansion, water interceptor project. And so the division head, or sometimes it comes from JB, will send me their, draft press release, and
sure.
I'll, work
Cherry
with
Street's
it.
closed tomorrow.
And then we send it out, and it's available on many different fronts. It gets blasted out to all the newspapers and the WATTs and all PAC TV.
Do PAC TV? Good.
I blast that out, but then it's 2014 now, so we're Facebooking it and Twittering it. The assistant town manager handles that, and it gets on our website.
How is Michael? I haven't seen him for a little while.
Yes,
And
it's
guess
good.
my next meeting of the electronic voting, I will see him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he
handles all the
Michael.
social media, but
Yeah.
I think it's important, that we're doing that, and we have updates on social media daily on different DPW projects. It's been important with all the construction that the town's
I'm going to tell you, Liz,
recently.
I love the Rotary. I love what's happened down there. I love the crosswalks, the Rotary. I know those flowers are going to just be in bloom next year like crazy.
Yeah.
And he's done such a great job with that.
They have, and they, did a good job too, regrouping when necessary, and
Because the water, yeah.
yeah.
But now this is interesting. You were appointed the municipal hearing officer that conducts dog hearings and fire violation hearings. Now, give me a dog story.
Well,
No names.
yeah,
just,
that's true.
Yeah.
I've been lucky with the dog hearings, because I know there has been some
In the past.
doozy cases,
Yeah.
but generally speaking, the dog hearings are, there's an issue with neighbors where, there's obviously an issue with the dog, but it might also be, they might not have the best relations to begin with. So it's always
seen
hard. I
that,
mean,
yeah.
it's just, you got to balance and listen to both sides, and there's been some dog bites or different things where we have to come in and require the dog to go away for training or certain kind of collar. But for the most part, in the last 2 years that I've handled it, they've been manageable, and I've been fortunate to work with people that come to an understanding of, well, if I do this, then it won't upset the neighbor as much. And sometimes the people just need to talk it out with a third party.
Sure.
And so becomes almost like mediating.
Yeah. I'm sure.
But they get a decision, and it's enforced by the animal control office.
I was just going to ask you, they were on the show last week.
Yeah, Lori.
Yes,
Yeah.
so they alert you, they send something up?
Lori will issue a citation,
Okay.
and usually it's with someone that has been warned in the past before, for whatever reason. The last resort is kicking it to a dog hearing with the town manager's office. So both parties come in. I schedule a hearing that's public. Anybody could come, and we usually sit in the Mayflower room, sometime during the day. And Lori comes. I hear from both parties. I hear from Lori, and for the most part, once it gets to that level, the folks that might have the animal with an issue, they're willing to listen and comply once they get a letter from the town manager's office.
Right, because nobody wants to see their pet being...
Right, but it could be anything from, it's not just dogs, we have loose animals or loose livestock.
Livestock.
I had a case where there was a violation out on Clark's Island.
No,
so
sir.
I didn't get a site visit, but...
No. Oh, too bad.
But, it's just, for the most part, I really believe that, putting the people in the room and having the third party and talking about it, they come to an understanding, and, they're required to keep the dog on a leash, or they're required to, the dog cannot bark from these times. And there's only been a few instances where I've had to follow up past the decision that was issued. So
Okay.
it's,
Most people are reasonable.
I think it has the stigma with it that it's way worse than it is, but I haven't found
Well, it used to be.
Yeah.
Years ago.
Yeah.
And it was quite a problem. But what's a fire violation? Like burning outside that you shouldn't be with,
It could
no
be.
permit?
It could be burning outside.
Yeah.
There's a fire code hearing person that does all of that work on the fire department.
I'm sure.
And he will issue a citation for, carbon monoxide detectors or
Sure.
smoke alarms if they're not working properly. Sometimes it's a tenant situation where there's
taking
an
down
issue
the-
between the tenant
Yeah.
and the landlord, so the fire department gets called in to check. And
Yeah.
but they will actively, obviously, issue citations, 'cause public safety. And I get involved if the people decide to appeal their ticket. So again, it's that third party. The fire department can't handle their own, they're the citation issue.
They're
so
the authority.
They can't, hear their own case. So
Yeah.
both parties come in, the fire department is there, and we talk about the case, and I determine whether or not the fine should stay.
Wow, Liz.
After that, if they still want to appeal it, they are subject to the court process. So for the most part, again, you bring it into that type of a situation where it's a formal hearing, and most people pay.
Of course
So,
they do.
But it could be private property residence, or it could be a commercial property, a business in town.
I know Ken will not burn outside unless he has a permit.
Right.
And because we have a lot of trees.
Yeah, it's important. It's all public safety.
Yeah.
I mean, and we explain that we're all here because we're all just doing our job.
Yeah.
So,
And again, organizing the coalition of nuclear committees. Is that still going? I know Belinda started that.
that was Belinda's.
Yes.
Belinda was spearheading that. We do still have an enormous amount of information on that it's not going to waste. I mean, I would not say that it's, out of the question. We collected a lot of data on that, and across, all the whole country, and where the plants are, and which towns the sites are located in.
Right. She did a lot of work
she
on
did.
that.
But right now, we're working on. We're working with UMass. There's a group that's looking to do a study on the nuclear power plant. And
Good.
So,
Very good. And you also manage the general liability and property insurance policies on all buildings and the vehicle fleet. Where do you get the time?
well, what goes into that is, we get a statement of values, or, all our buildings that are insured, and it's a lot of cross-referencing and double-checking and making sure everything's on the list that should be. And as we pick up properties at town meeting, if they have buildings, making sure it gets added.
Yeah. You must have a schedule. On this day you do that, and on, you might have to do.
I have a schedule. Everything goes into the calendar. And everything goes into the cell phone. You have to be,
organized,
alert and alarmed on everything what you should be working on. But the general liability for the town. Again, it's another project I'm so glad that I was given, because I've learned an incredible amount of information. One of the other aspects to that is our rewards program, which is different risk management or loss prevention activities that we do. We meet quarterly. There's a group of us, risk management. It's headed by the HR director, so the new HR director will take that over. And it's the police department, the fire department, DPW, the library, and we meet and we talk about, different risk management activities, workers' comp, and different things we could be doing for safety. And to lower our insurance liability.
Sure.
I mean, the more injuries, the more things that happen, the higher it is. But one of the other things we do is I do an annual loss prevention grant. And last year I worked with Bruce McNamee from the police department. Actually, for the last 2 years, Bruce has submitted information on safety vests, and he'll be doing it this year too, and that will have outfit the whole department. So we've been awarded that grant money annually, and I've coordinated with Bruce on that. The airport has submitted, and we got money for that.
They're fastidious there.
Yes.
They are absolutely on top of everything there.
They are, and so we do a really good job. There's all sorts of things you can do. Maya is our insurance company.
Yeah, Maya.
Massachusetts Interlock Insurance Association.
Okay.
They represent the majority of municipalities in Massachusetts.
Okay.
But they have a rewards program where you can basically document activities that you're already doing. For instance, Dennis Westgate from the DPW has the roofs inspected. Well, we're already doing that, so fill out paperwork to document that, submit it, and we get credit for it. Or having a policy on school bullying. We have numerous activities that they want to see we're achieving, and then it's my job to show and document that we are doing this. And then when we submit all of that, the end result in that was we got $90,000 off of our $800,000 insurance bill.
That's not chump change.
So it's, some people probably, I send out emails and I'm constantly asking them to email me back and ask for different things for them to show me and give me this, but the end result is, the discount, and it's always good to save the town money.
I'm going to tell you a story. and we're going to break a little bit from the norm here, and I'm going to tell you a personal story. You talk about risk management. I work for a company that prided themselves on risk management, safety first. So this one day, I was a department head, and we were changing the department over, which he's laughing, Kenny's laughing.
Yeah.
But you talk about something that's staring you right in the face, and they didn't see it. So thank God another manager was with me, and went to the back to get supplies. In those days, there were rolling bins, and they went from 2 inches from the floor to 16 feet high.
Wow.
And on every level were boxes and things, and you had to go through it and whatever. So I walked, and they moved. So I pushed the button. The other manager stood outside. I walked into my aisle. Of course, there was a piece of paper on the floor, so I bent over to pick it up, and I hear above me, and I froze, and I said, "What's that noise?" And I look up with my eyes, and I see my other manager going like this. 12 boxes.
Oh my gosh.
Filled 12 16-ounce shampoos each fell on me, knocked me right out.
That's terrible.
From the top shelf. I lost the vestibular in my ear.
Oh my God, Karen.
But, I wanted to go back to work.
Right.
The fire department wouldn't let me because I had been knocked out. And you talk about something so simple like that. I mean, of course, that was stupid. Of course, they changed it afterwards.
Right.
So you're always looking for things like that.
Right. It is. It's unfortunately when risk management is trial by error, but
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, that's a terrible story.
I'm sorry. I thought you'd get a kick out of that. But now, I'm sorry, Liz, but and you would respond to constituent complaints.
That comes with the job as a public servant. I mean, we're always
Right to your desk, do they phone in?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yep. And that's great. They could be anything from a pothole to a dog complaint or anything. Any concern.
Pothole. Oh, you poor baby.
Any kind of concern. But and a lot of times, again, they just want to be listened to, or it's connecting them with the right person. But that's across the board. Both with Lee Hartman and Melissa, I've watched them and learned from them. I mean, they both have open door policies.
Absolutely.
So they are taking resident complaints, at different times
all the
too.
time.
And so, I mean, that's part of the job, and I welcome that.
Yeah, Melissa was good at that when she was the assistant town manager.
Yeah, I mean, it just goes hand in hand. I mean, people sometimes are. We get walk-ins that are, you can see them in the hallway, and you can tell it's a person that's never been in the building because they're looking at, they just look like, where am I going? And, so.
That's great. I'm going to jump right to it, the courthouse.
Yeah.
And when you say people walk in, that's going to be such a user-friendly place.
Yes.
And it takes a lot of things into consideration, employees and the citizens of this town.
Yes.
And I really liked the plans for it.
We're very excited. Actually, I'm excited. Melissa has me doing a little bit of that. That's her project, but I've done a little bit of help on that and working with getting the architects and the hazmat people and all different people in and out of the building and showing it to them. And it is, I mean,
it's exciting.
I think, that's going to be a wonderful project for the town.
Tourists come in, and if they happen to go by it, they look at, is that the town hall?
Right.
This is the question all the time. Oh, look at the town, look at their town hall. How
Right.
quaint. Wait till they see it.
Right.
When
We've
done.
been on site before, you know, a 9 o'clock meeting or whatever. We're meeting the architects or the different folks.
Yeah.
We're standing in front and we get approached. Oh, is there bathrooms in there we can use?
Oh, yeah.
You know, so we direct them to another facility, but
Yeah.
you don't want to use those bathrooms. But
Yeah.
you know, so it is. It's just a landmark, and
we, you know, CPC funds helped
CPC
with that.
funds, the meals tax,
Meals
and,
tax.
it was a.
It
know,
was a concerted effort, let me
was.
tell you.
It was.
And it was a 2-year PR campaign.
Again, it, you know, goes back to the educational component on these major projects or major changes for Plymouth, and you know, Melissa does a really good job of
Yeah.
getting out there and
Information.
all the different areas of town, the village centers, and it's, you know, you watch like a project like that and you can see how much the educational component helped contribute,
Yeah,
because a lot of it comes down to people understanding.
Yes,
know?
and when you don't understand, or you know, you think there's something else attached to it.
No,
or
it's
whatever,
important
you know.
to ask questions. And,
Yeah.
you know, and that's why I say like the phone calls or the walk-ins, and you know, it's nice to be able to share information with people, and you know.
I'm not apt to pick up the phone and call Melissa, although I have, because she's very busy, and I don't want to impose
Right.
upon her that way. So I will pick up the phone and I'll call JB
Yep.
or Lee Hartman or David. You know, I'll do it that way.
Right.
And, you know, although I've gone up to her office a couple of times, maybe once.
They're all very approachable. And,
Yeah.
You know, if they can't get the answer to you like right that, they're gonna find a way to get it to you. So.
Right.
But no, it's you know, we all work together.
She has, I know, probably personally, I have no idea. I don't know if she has patience, but she exhibits patience. I'm not sure she's got it inside, because I would be screaming
Yeah,
at
no,
times.
She does. I mean,
Yeah.
she's a worker.
Yeah,
I
she
mean,
is.
I mean, that's how it should be.
She
and-
came in at a perfect time. You know, I mean, if you look at pictures of Melissa way back when, she looked like a baby. Yeah.
I remember. I mean,
Yeah.
she started for the town. I want to say maybe 4 months or 5 months after I had started. I mean, I started working in conservation, and I was hired under Pam Nolan, and Mark was the
Wow.
assistant.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't too long after, I want to say within 6 months, that Pam left and Mark became town manager, and Mark hired Melissa. So the people that I've watched have been Mark and Melissa, and they've done fantastic jobs.
Yeah.
You know, it's
And they were young enough.
been inspiring.
Yes,
Yeah.
they were like sponges. You know, they paid attention to everything.
Yes.
They learned everything.
Yes.
And one thing, too, Melissa knows how to do is keep her mouth closed. She knows when to speak and not to speak, which is a huge thing. You know, I mean, she's a good town manager.
Yes.
So, what is the MBTA Advisory Board, and how often does that meet?
The MBTA Advisory Board is a board that Plymouth belongs to because we have the
Train.
MBTA coming through Plymouth.
Okay.
So any town in the region that has has a designee for that board. They meet quarterly up in Boston at
Okay.
MassDOT. So I go up there, and there's been some breakout meetings or subcommittee meetings for the weekend commuter rail project. So the MBTA Advisory Board is we look at budget, we look at things across the state MBTA-wise. I bring that information back, give it to the selectmen. But then separate from that is the subcommittee on the weekend commuter rail.
Yeah.
So we have there's a resident not of Plymouth. I believe he's Kingston or Duxbury. Richard Prone, who's very active in engaging town officials and the selectmen to take an active role in supporting the return of the weekend service.
Please.
So, I feel that the town is supportive of that.
Very much so.
And it's interesting because there's a lot depending on what happens to Cordage or what is going to happen.
I'm pulling
out
for
there.
him. I would love to see Cordage up and running just like his vision is, the owner there. But look at the Cape Flyer.
Right.
It is doing phenomenally.
Right.
And we miss the train. The train should actually come down into Plymouth.
Right. Right. Well, I think we're definitely supportive of, there's some thought, Kingston versus Plymouth, should it just go to Kingston? And I know that the town we want to see it, have it stay in Plymouth.
Yes.
So my role is to go and listen
Yeah.
and make sure that we're
Try and
speaking up
persuade
when
them. Yeah.
appropriate. So,
And that's a very interesting board.
yes.
And that is advisory to the governor?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And liability, training you. Tell me the CPC projects that you've been involved in.
Okay. I worked on a lot of CPC projects when I was a conservation planner.
That's where I first met you. I had you on the show.
That's right.
Yeah, and you've just blossomed. I think I just admire you so much. But conservation was your love, and you worked with Lee Hartman.
I did, yeah. And so, my background's in environmental policy, and
Yeah.
that doesn't go away. I mean,
No.
if you feel that,
That's
you feel
who
that.
you are.
But I worked with Bill Cohane
Oh,
on
Bill Cohane.
some of the projects that stand out would be the Crawley Preserve. David Gould's office, myself, co-wrote a land grant. Because what we like to do is, when we're requesting CPC funds, it's never a project that totally is funded by CPC. It's always,
Right.
here's what we got for grant money.
Yes.
And here's what we need, to fill the gap.
Yes.
So the Crawley property over in West Plymouth,
Yeah.
Center Hill Preserve was done through CPC
That
funding.
was
and
wonderful.
That was a NOAA grant too that we got. That was a milestone
got your money
project.
back.
That was a milestone project. I
Yeah.
think even for the state. You
Bill-
don't see a lot of
Yeah.
coastal acquisitions of that size.
Magnitude. He was so proud of that.
Rightfully so. I
Yeah.
mean, this is a beautiful property.
Yeah.
If you haven't been, it's two sides, the ocean side, the land side, and the trails that are down there. I mean, you don't need a beach sticker. It's a beach.
Yeah.
There's parking, and it's never full.
And no, because people really don't know about it.
It's a little bit of a secret, all those beautiful
Yeah.
signs down there.
I know. We don't tell them.
Right. Well, now they know.
But no, and the Hedges Pond Preserve.
Hedges Pond Preserve was
Eel
another
River.
one. Eel River, and the Harry's property, which is a small property off Long Pond Road that makes up the larger Eel River Preserve. Harry's is a corner of
I'm
that.
not familiar with that one.
There was several acquisitions that make up the Eel River Preserve. Phoenix, Russell Mills is on one
Russell
side. I mean,
Mills,
all of
yeah.
it, when we say Eel River Preserve, it encompasses
All of that.
multiple acquisitions.
Okay.
The Harry's property is, if you're on Long Pond Road and you go into Boot Pond Road,
Yeah.
and you can take a left into the parking lot for the Eel River Preserve.
Yes.
Actually, the Harry's property is take a right. It's almost like it's the old Long Pond Road. If you notice,
I have been on
okay,
there.
so it's
Yeah.
it looks like a dead end. and
Okay.
If you go to the end of that, there's a little area, and
We're going to have to check that out, Kenny.
that's it, the Harry's. It usually associates with the name, so the person that
Sure.
we bought that property their last name was Harry's, but it makes up a portion of the Eel River Preserve.
You know, the
So-
Eel River Preserve was, I think, a phenomenal acquisition.
It really was. I mean, that is protecting the headwaters to the Eel River, and the transition in the cranberry bogs that can be seen
Yeah.
just in the few years that it's done. And David Gould, is amazing. It was all done through grant money. I
Right.
mean, just all different pots, all different grants, and people come from, out of state to work on these projects
Yes,
because they're, for river restorations, they're known nationwide.
Yeah.
And he's won awards for that, and so I mean, it's really, we're very lucky in Plymouth, all the natural resources we have.
Yes, and all the talent that's here that has their heart in it, that works at Town Hall. I mean, it's a concerted effort.
That's true.
I mean, people talk about, oh, we don't want to become Weymouth, we don't want to become, we never will, because we have taken the time and the patience and all the hard work to link all these places together so you will have this natural reserve.
We really have. I mean, we're extremely fortunate. We have over 3,000 acres of conservation property, and spanning from inland wooded to coastal, and that figure doesn't even include the state forest because it's state, it's not town. But we have a wealth of open space in Plymouth, and we're known for that. That's why they want to have all these road races and bike races. They all want to come to Plymouth.
Oh, we were on the beach and they were racing on the beach.
Yeah, I mean, it's a destination for those type of activities, in addition to being a destination just for all of our historical charm and stories that we have too. It's
Plymouth has history.
Yeah.
Now you're responsible for the Plymouth Open Space Plan report?
I
worked on it?
I helped draft the open space plan when I worked in planning with the other planners, and that was something that's required that we have to have on file. And you have to have certain plans like the open space plan in order to apply for all these other grants that I've referenced.
Do you work with Malcolm at all?
I do work with Malcolm.
Malcolm McGregor is a treasure.
I know Malcolm for a while. He was one of my professors at Mass Maritime.
Of course he was. I'm telling you, I say to parents all the time, if your child, you think they're smart enough, send them to Mass Maritime.
Yeah, it's a great school.
Fabulous school.
Just, but yes, I've known Malcolm since I was a student, and I was very fortunate when I came back to Plymouth to start my career. I was able to work with him, on planning board member, and
he's a treasure. He really is. He's passionate about this town, and he puts all his energy into it. And what I like about Malcolm is that he's sincere.
Oh yeah,
there's nothing phony about Malcolm.
He, for a long time, was on the Conservation Commission, which I provided staff support as the conservation planner.
Yeah.
But when I started working for the town, he was on the planning board. So I didn't get to work with him that way.
Yeah.
But I knew all about him because he was a professor, and he's a great asset to Plymouth.
Now talk about passion, the White Horse Beach parking. You helped tremendously with that. You guided them. You kept your head on straight. You didn't take a side. You just helped them make good decisions.
Yeah, the White Horse Beach Parking Committee was a short-term temporary committee that the selectmen authorized the town manager to enact. They had a very specific charge which related to offsetting the seasonal impacts of the parking issues down there. Basically, as you know, White Horse Beach is a public beach with no formal designated public parking. So the committee was made up of one representative from each of the associations down there. There's many, as you know. And there was a very specific charge. So it was challenging at times because there's so much passion in that area and opinions. But I was so proud of that committee, and I don't even know if I got a good chance to say that, because they met for 8 months and I think it was 16 meetings we had, public meetings. We had a brainstorming session that it started with where they set their priorities, set their goals, and this is what we're doing going forward. And one of my major jobs was to just keep reeling them in to say, hey, this is what you said you were going to do.
Yeah.
You know, so I tried
Which was great.
do it in
I
a
mean,
way
yeah.
of just being a reminder.
Sure.
But it was challenging for them. They all had an opinion. You know, some were on the same side of the fence, literally, some weren't. But I tried to keep reminding them that, you know, but you're all here for the same common good, which is you all care about Whitehorse Beach. And, you know, it's volunteering your time, coming out for a night meeting for 16 weeks, you know, is dedicated.
Yeah,
And
we do that.
yeah, so I mean, it's a great group of people, and the end result was a strategic report and a presentation to the selectmen that, you know, it really is providing the foundation for what's happening and what's to come. I mean, it's a tool and a resource for, you know, existing conditions. This is what's out there. This is what's not working. They did short, mid, and long-term recommendations, and you know, without the Whitehorse Beach Parking Committee, it really did set the stage for, you know, what's even happened this summer, which was.
Well, I think it's really going well. I mean, it has its bumps.
It definitely has its
But
bumps.
that's not them. That's the people coming in.
And anything will, you know. So it has been the signage and the parking and the upping the enforcement.
Thank God.
It's baby
for that.
steps. There's just you know, small things are happening. There's going to be the bathhouse down there, and it's a beautiful resource we have. And it's I was so proud to work on it because I did feel that, you know, it was an area that needed some attention, and along with the state funding that eventually will come, you know, I think that we will see some even more change out there. But yeah, it was challenging,
little.
but it was a great committee and a great experience.
Well, it's emotional, and everybody just wanted it to be done correctly. And I think what went a long way to help was the enforcement.
Right.
And you know, we go by now because we make the loop. I live in Manamet too. And we make the loop, we come down, and from what we see, and I'm sure they see more, but they're staying within the signage.
Right.
I'm sure there are people who don't, and I hope they're ticketed. I really do. And I don't want them blocking people's homes, driveways, or whatever.
Right.
That's not right. But I know once it was proposed to take down the dunes, if you can get this, and put a parking lot. And I do not see that flying at all.
No, I mean, the dunes are there for a reason, and dunes act as a protector for, you know, flooding and the beach, the Barry Beach. I think that there were some ideas about, you know, etching into the pavement, or how far could you etch into the dunes. But no, it wasn't generally one of the most well-received ideas. It's in there as an idea to as they all are. But
I think if that ever does happen, a lot of education would have, because that's what they did in Hyannis.
Right.
They took down dunes and they put, because as one planning board member said to me, one good wave is going to wipe it out anyway.
Right. Right.
Which nobody wants to see.
Right. I mean, you don't want to be advocating for construction in dunes, but does it happen with proper permitting? It does.
If you build a high enough one.
Yeah. I mean, all those cottages are in the same area. You know, it's the same type.
I worry about
same
that.
type of coastal environment.
Yeah.
It's all flood zone. you know.
What's their insurance, Liz? I can't imagine their insurance.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, there's been some changes in legislation that they're working on making that
I
so
hope
it's more
so.
regular. But in that type of an area for new construction, you have to build 2 feet above base flood. So you won't see any of those cottages get rebuilt as they are.
Yeah.
If they want to rebuild or if they want to add an addition, depending on the square footage of the addition, could kick them into putting the whole house on pilings.
Yeah.
So it's, and it's not anything that people are trying to, get them out of their house, but it's got to meet the standards for
Right.
today's building code. So that's why you see some of them. And on Long Beach, I'm sure you've seen some of them and how high they actually have to be above 2 feet of base flood.
See, in some states, they will not allow you to build back.
That's right. It's some towns too.
Yeah.
There's a case law in Chatham that Chatham said no. The Chatham.
Oh, I didn't realize that. I was thinking of North Carolina. They said no. If your house comes down, if there's a storm, you cannot build.
Right. No adverse impact.
Right.
It's called, and I mean that would be something that would have to make it into our zoning bylaw, as a require or prohibited activity. But unless something like that happens,
That would be devastating.
We can just, they have to meet the building code at the time. So
Can you see all the houses up on stilts
Yeah.
on White Horse?
right.
Yeah, you go in certain areas around the beach areas, near Tasket, whatever. They're on stilts.
My feel on that is, just like on Long Beach, as these houses become available and people want to sell them, if the CPC has funding, we should be focusing
Yeah.
just as much as we are on Long Beach on White Horse Beach.
Yeah.
We buy properties on Long Beach.
Yeah. I agree with that. We tried to get where the park is now through CPC funds.
That's right.
We tried that, but it didn't work.
That's right.
The park is beautiful.
It
but
is.
I mean, that was a thought.
Right, but it was a private sale, and
Yeah.
the town can't necessarily compete with like some of the funding capabilities of
Right.
private residents.
Right.
So
Right. Oh, Liz, Ken's given me a signal. This hour flew by.
Wow, it did
yeah,
fly by.
didn't it? You are a dear.
Thank
and
you.
I am very happy that you're flourishing in your job because we need you. And I want to say goodbye to everybody, and I will see you in 7.